are listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia. Your host, Star Mo, Glen, and myself. Wole, what's going on, fellas?
Hey, I'm just happy to be back on the show. It's been a minute since I've been on here.
I know, bro. I know.
Life is busy, man. But I don't know where I'm at these days, what city. But anyway, I'm ready to talk about Washington Commanders football, man.
Glad to have you back, man. What's going on, Mo?
Ain't much, man. Glad to have Glenn back. And if you're going to take a hiatus and come back, you gotta come through as clean as you are, baby.
What?
Man.
What?
Multitasking on draft night. Multitasking.
Clean, my man. Clean. Hey, before we get into the show, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_ everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_ everything. And like our All Burgundy and Go everything Facebook page. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go everything YouTube channel. Also, like this button. We're close to 400, so come on. Hit that red subscribe button. Get us to 400. All right, man, it's time for the pregame. Here's what we have on tap. We'll debate Jayden Daniels accompanying 49ers wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk to his meeting with the 49ers brass. We'll debate whether we thought it was a good move or Also, we'll talk about a report that the Commanders made an actual trade offer for Brandon Aiyuk. Let's get right to it, Mo.
Man, as you stated, man, it's been reported that by ESPN and former Washington Redskins safety Ryan Clark that Commanders rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels did, in fact, accompany Brandon Aiyuk for his meeting with the 49ers recently. If that is true, do you see an issue with Daniels accompanying him?
For me, man, I think it's weird, right? I know that's your homie, that's your friend. They were in Tyson Corner together in the DMV. But then all of a sudden now you got the Washington Commanders rookie quarterback in Sanford in the Niners facility. I'm not saying he was actually in the meeting, but he was in the facility waiting on his boy Brandon Aiyuk. If true, I think it's kind of weird. I don't know. Glenn, how about you, man?
I mean, it's your boy, right? I don't think it's weird. I think you support your man, right? And I think you support your friends. Now, if my boy was going to get a job at Apple, Microsoft, and I worked for Microsoft and you was going to get an interview at Google, if you like, yo, come out there with me, I go with you, right? If anything other than the NFL, it's support. Now, yeah. If he was his business manager, I know they've been friends for a while. So again, I think it's a friend supporting a friend. We know in this situation, I think sometimes we read too many things into it. Can't nobody touch Jayden Daniels right now anyway because he's a rookie. He is under contract with the Washington Commanders. We know the Commanders are not getting rid of him, right? Yeah. But again, it may be more leverage for Brandon Aiyuk. Be like, hey, I have options because it gives him more leverage because he walked in there with the Washington Commanders starting quarterback who's a rookie who may be able to make some calls right now and to get somebody over because, hey, as you mentioned earlier in your dialogue, Washington did make an offer. So maybe Jayden Daniels is the ambassador that Washington needs to get another receiver.
What about you, Glenn? Mo, what's your thoughts, bro?
I mean, it is rather peculiar, given the nature of how we know the NFL works typically. I'm surprised that he was allowed in the facility.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
From the other team standpoint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, I think more information is going to be needed on this, as both of you guys mentioned. From the onset, I just see it as a friend supporting a friend. They were out here hanging out in Tyson's. Jayden probably wanted to go back to California, hang out in California, and that was just one of the things on the agenda for the day. When we get more information about his involvement, or if rumors come out about his involvement there, I think it'd be a little bit more meat on the bone to get the gnaw on. But at the end of the day, I think he did what most friends would do, and accompanied his homeboy. It's a tough situation, especially when there's been a proposed trade to the Commanders prior to that we now found out is got denied. But it was rather interesting. I think that we're not used to hearing this kind of news about starting quarterback, especially
that's what it is.
Top draft Washington Commanders quarterback.
Yeah,
especially when you're a rookie quarterback,
yeah.
you're one of the top draft picks. You typically tend to worry about yourself and your affairs because there's a playbook to take care of. Like this is the kind of thing that can spill into the off season after a couple of bad practices, where they're like,
Bingo.
see, your focus should have been on the
Yep.
playbook and this, that, and the
You
third,
get it.
as if one day would dictate that in a training camp practice or in a game. So I think it's a lot of humbug about a lot of nothing, but he didn't do himself a favor.
Yeah, that was my point. But it also on our X page and on X, we had to say we raised the question via on a poll, and 67% said it's not an issue, 33% said it was. So I want to dive into what Mo said. Like you want to kind of get out of that. You don't want to put yourself in that position. Say training camp doesn't go well. Say preseason doesn't go well. Then you're gonna have some of the naysayers come out and say, "Well, if you weren't spending so much time trying to help out or tag along Brand or trying to recruit Brandon Aiyuk, you have more time to work on your game." We know how it works around here. You know what I mean? We know how people act, and I'm with Mo. That's a bunch of BS. But we know that folks will be ready to use that ammunition against him, right? So why put yourself in that predicament? You know what I'm saying? I get like, yeah, be your man, be your man's homie, but you're an NFL starting quarterback, you know what I mean? Especially the second pick overall, people are waiting to crap on you. You know what I'm saying? Like you have your people who are for you, and you definitely have your people who are against you. So like I don't know, like I get it. Like I get being there for your homie. I think I probably would do the same if you asked me. Like, yeah, I'll be there for you, bro. But it's a little different being an NFL quarterback because folks are waiting.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is not with the media or with society or with the fans, with your teammates, right? How does a Terry McLaurin feel? How does a Jahan Dotson feel, right? All the top receivers feel that you're out there trying to recruit another receiver
There you go.
to come in to be a commander, right? So if you recruit him, who leaves? Because that wide receiver room is already packed, right? That wide receiver room is already full. You got McCaffrey in there now, so you have a strong wide receiver room. And when you're not recruiting a second tier guy, you're recruiting a starter, right? You're recruiting a Pro Bowler, right? Mm-hmm. So that means he's expected to play from day one. So if he comes into camp, if I'm the wide receivers in Washington, I might be calling Jayden Daniels like, "Yo, Rook, what you doing?" Those are the people that should be concerned, and those should be the people giving Jayden Daniels a call like, "Hey, Rook, we good."
On the flip side, though, we just talked about that though. Oh, go ahead, Mo. You want to say something? I'm going to cut you off.
Number one person should feel some type of way. Forget Terry McLaurin.
Jahan.
It's Jahan Dotson.
Exactly. And to that, like we can go. Let's go to that real quick before anything. Like, because Mo, Glenn, you brought it up. Say that, like, all right, you say they do make the trade happen. Say the trade doesn't happen. Like, but your quarterback's been trying to entice this dude to be over here and try to get this guy over here, and not Terry McLaurin. Like to most point, Terry good, but Jahan Dotson. I think Jahan Dotson probably gonna look at it like, all right, like we were cool, but I mean, I know if this dude came here, chances that I would be the one gone.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, how does he look at, say, the rookie quarterback in Jayden Daniels? Does he look at him differently?
I think in human nature you do, right? I know, understand it's a business, but human nature, you look at it like, dog, what we trying to do here? Then you look at management, because management gave you a reassurance. Hey, Jahan, you're gonna be here, right? Jahan, you're our guy. Jahan, you're our man. And here a couple of weeks later, you think, and you really don't put it too much on management. If this deal ever takes place, if Washington deny it, you put this on Jayden Daniels because you're like, boy, got me out of here, because he's over there with San Francisco. It may not have nothing to do with it. He might be like really supporting his boy, but the optics of it is, you got me out of here. For what reason?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. So on X, we raised the question: if Aiyuk doesn't come here, do you think Daniels could already alienate himself from some of the other wide receivers? Mo mentioned obviously Jahan Dotson. 17% said yes. 83% said no. So I kind of think that. I have some folks comment said. My man Jerome said this is a ridiculous question. I don't think it's ridiculous. My man said. Paul said it's a reach. I don't think it's a reach at all. I feel like to what everyone's talking about is human nature. I think we got to understand, like, yeah, when you look at Brandon Aiyuk as a football player, you're going to say, yeah, man, it'd be cool to have a Brandon Aiyuk. and you're trying to recruit this dude. But you're on the flip side, if that dude don't show out, don't come to your team, now you're stuck. I don't say you're stuck, but now you're stuck with probably a little annoyed Jahan Dotson. Like, oh, okay, all right, dog. I know, like, we're excited to have you as the quarterback, but all right, man, I know that's your boy, but I think I'm cool too.
But you know what? Jahan got some proving to do, so Jahan can stand for some added motivation.
Oh, I
Yeah, he
agree.
can.
I agree with that. I'm just saying, like, we
I
talk
agree with
about
that.
the nature. Like, everybody wants the kumbaya locker room, right? You know what I'm saying? Everybody wants the quarterback and your receiver to kind of feel good coming into the situation. And to your point, like, I think it wouldn't be a thing if it was a vet. If it was a vet quarterback.
No,
But you kind of got the rookie kind of. If it appears, not to say it's a factual thing, I don't think it is, but it appears that your rookie is able to help make these moves, right? Because it's the same thing. All right, Peter, I'm not comparing it to because they're totally different. But it's almost the perspective. The perspective is a little bit similar. But right now it's cool with Jayden, but like RG3, when RG3 was kind of doing certain things, people were like, "Yo, you're a rookie, man. You can't be running shots. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're a rookie. You can't be saying this. Like, certain things he was saying. I do think the temperature and the climate is different because the fan base was overly negative at the time. I think right now the fan base is overly positive. But I do think that if the fan base was back on that under that Snyder regime type of stuff, that environment, like, I don't know if this will be taken positively right now because everybody's in that phase where we got a new owner, we got a new front office, we got this, that, and the other. So everybody's welcoming everything. I don't know if people would take this type of this stuff that we're talking about now. If it was in the Snyder era, I don't know if they would take it the same way. Do you all agree?
Yeah, but this is the high hope area, right? Because we've got number 2 overall pick. We're happy, new ownership, new head coach, new staff. We're in the honeymoon period, right? And so the honeymoon period now, there's nothing wrong until we play football games, right? Until football games are being played, or until training camp actually opens here in almost less than a month, and we see those things. I agreed with Mo's point. Jahan Dotson didn't have a great sophomore season last year. He needs pressure, right? There were some key situations where he dropped the ball. And so my question here is, if Jahan this year doesn't get the ball like that, do he revert back to what happened in early June? Hey, Jayden, why you not throwing me the football, right? Is it something personal? I think it's great talking points. I really think Jahan will get over it. I think front office, they will work together and be cohesive. Like you said, if this was a Tom Brady, the year that he went after Antonio Brown, it wouldn't be no problem, right? But it's because Jayden Daniels is the first year guy. Lamar Jackson had went over OBJ, right, last year to get him to be a Baltimore Raven. We know about that. No one said
he's a vet. That was a vet, though.
That's what I'm saying. It's a vet. That was a vet. So if, like, to your point, if he was a vet, we're not having a conversation right now. But because he's a rookie, and he hasn't even thrown a pass in a true NFL game, there's still question marks. And we want to know why, Brandon, why are you hanging out in the San Francisco locker room? And fans are, but again, I like this story because it could be other stories the Washington Commanders had in the past years that we were talking about right now. As you mentioned, the Snyder era, it was chaos and foolishness around this time of year. This story is not a bad story to talk about.
Definitely. On X, my man Judah said, "Nah, he ain't that type of guy." Terry and Han already spoke on the relationships. So speaking of like but I'm saying I feel like they can talk, and that's fine. I'll tell you everything you want to hear. You know what I'm saying? But I know me, bro. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I know me. If I feel like not this, if it looks like you favor, I know that's your boy, and you get me traded, or I think you're about to you can get me traded, I'm gonna feel a certain way. Even if I'm still to your point, Glen and Mo, like, I agree. Like, Jahan gotta be the fuel to the fire for him, right? But you're gonna feel a certain way. Like, it's just, we're human. If you're a competitor, that's how you feel, because you thinking about yourself like, yo, I look at you as a quarterback that can get me to the next level, because you're a guy I feel like that can give me the football and get the football to me accurately. And I feel like I'll have numbers like a Brandon Aiyuk. Now, obviously, you don't believe in me to do that like an IU. You know what I'm saying? So it may not even be all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It may be and you trying to make a team better, this, that, and
Yeah,
the third.
exactly.
But people, you know how people gonna take it. People gonna go with the mess rather than going for stuff that's,
I agree.
you know what I mean. So with that said, right? So
Mhm.
Glenn, I'm gonna ask you this: in your opinion, how did that Daniels and IU partnership influence that meeting that we've been speaking of?
Mhm.
It might have if it did influence it on Brandon Ayuk's side. It gave him leverage with the San Francisco 49ers in
Mhm.
order to get his contract because they know there's open. If he holds out, if he sets out, if he doesn't get his money, right? At least there's another team that wants him. But Washington putting the trade offer in, which allows them to know that Washington wants him. So do you sign this guy who is a vital part of your offense, who helps your young quarterback, right? Everybody said Prudy is a system quarterback, right? And so
Mhm.
Purdy is a system quarterback. So
Mhm.
if you take one piece away from his system, are you destroying the team as a whole? So it gave Brandon more leverage than anybody else in that meeting.
Oh, we lose Glenn?
He'll be back. What about you? What do you think about this partnership and walking into this meeting?
Oh, I don't think it does anything for Ayuk. I just think that Ayuk's play is what it is. I just felt like for Ayuk, it didn't do anything for him. I agree. Glenn's part with his point is fascinating. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a good point. For me, I just thought like Ayuk is. I think the Niners, like we talked about this last week. No, I think the Niners they know what they have in Ayuk. I think that. I mean, I don't think they're willing to really give up on Ayuk. Granted, like Washington may put out. That's like we heard that Washington put an offer out there for Ayuk, and they declined it, right? So um, I'm like, they want Ayuk. I feel like it's about leverage. It's about money. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, can we honestly say that they want Ayuk? Look
who
at let's look at it. They
the
say they don't.
Niners? The
Yeah, the
Niners
Niners.
want. Oh, talk about
The
what they
the,
did. Yeah, yeah. Go
the
ahead.
nine. I mean, I think they would like him for whatever tag price they would like him for.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he was wasn't he was all pro last year.
Was he all pro? I mean, shit, all pro
I think he was
numbers.
second team all pro last
I
year.
mean, you got all pro numbers.
Right? He put up
Yeah,
1,300 yards last year. The year
yeah.
before that
Mm-hmm.
was an 1,100 yard season, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is the other guy. He is, a piece in a big cog. He's a big
Yeah,
cog in a big, in something else. But like,
yeah.
if we're being honest, if we're being honest about it,
Uh huh.
they drafted a receiver first round
Yeah.
that most people thought wouldn't be a first rounder because
Yep.
they went after a specific type of guy in Ricky
Mm-hmm.
Pearsall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think when that pick came up, a lot of people were surprised, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at his talent and being that he was a teammate of Ayuk's at Arizona State, also, even Ayuk has been on record telling the 49ers GM that was a really good pickup. You talk about the trade rumors prior to the draft, after the draft, and then they just re-upped C-Mac, deservingly so because he's the best player in football on the offensive side,
Yeah.
right? They just re-upped him. I'm not going to say unnecessarily, but unwarranted. He was under contract as already the
Already.
highest paid
Yeah.
running back in the league, and you just gave him more money. So you can't say there's not enough money to go around, and you drafted somebody at my position.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So like to say that they truly wanted him, I mean, there's been rumors about him or Debo being traded
Yeah, for a while.
for
Yeah.
some
Okay.
time now because people were projecting because you was coming up on that time where you had to make a decision on him,
Yeah.
right? So if I'm Ayuk, I'm arguing how much do you truly want me,
But it
right?
goes back to what Debo did a couple years ago. I think it was last year or the year before when Debo held out for more money. If y'all remember that. So
Correct.
so
But
so
Debo
so
was a
Brandon
second round
so
pick.
right, Brandon's
Debo was
looking
a
at that.
second
So
round.
you gave this man the money, and he did this to give me the money too. Let's keep the band together.
Correct. Debo was a second round pick.
Yeah. It was.
They started using him in the backfield, so that usage, and then they made it to the NFC Championship at that point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like coming off of that, like it behooved Debo to hold out. Same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Ayuk. Ayuk, I wouldn't want. I'm in this NFL. I'm not playing on the last year of my contract unless it's money that I want.
Mm.
Now you can also argue why would Ayuk turn down north of $15 million when he's never made $15 million, But he has to play longevity game, because if he goes out and gets hurt this year, his value diminishes. He has to play for another smaller contract in the prime, in his prime years. So it makes sense for him to hold out. But 49ers really going to have it. This is going to go as far as Aiyuk truly wants to take it. Is he willing to sit out? Is he willing to miss real games like Chris Jones did last year on the first game of the season while he was in the booth watching the team play? It's going to have to come down. At this point, the 49ers are going to force his hand to have to do something like that, because they've already drafted his replacement.
Right. And that window's closing too, because let's be honest, the 49ers window is closing. You got George Kittle, you got the Deebo Samuel, you mentioned McCaffrey, they just locked him up a little bit longer. Brock's contract is getting ready to come up. I don't think they gave him much money. So you guys start paying a lot of these guys. And so how vital or important do you deem this group? Because let's be honest, they have a great group. There's a great nucleus together, right? They're a couple, they're half, or let's say a quarter away from winning the Super Bowl last year. All right, they get
a drive,
right? A drive winning the Super Bowl last year, and let's go back before then. 2 years ago, they almost won again, right? So with this group here, they could have won the 2 Super Bowls, but now the window's closing. Do you let a piece walk out the door and see what you have, or do you keep that piece there to at least get you into the NFC Championship game? Because right now, the 49ers are favorite to be in the NFC Championship game again.
So Glenn, I want you to go back to what you were saying before you cut out in terms of the influence. So what were you like? What was like the influence? Because you did cut out. So what was it like? I want you to get your point out about the influence.
The influence is here. The influence that the influence or the pressure I was talking about was this. Brandon Aiyuk adds pressure when you bring somebody else that little less. The Washington wants him. Washington already offered that you want him. Do you go back? Goes to my point here. Do you let him walk out the door? Because again, here it is. The leverage is mine because I'm a key receiver. I know Mo talked about they got his replacement, but that kid ain't proven yet, right? He's not proven, and that nucleus, that cohesiveness is not there yet. You know what you have when you have Kittle on the field. You know what you have when you have Aiyuk on the field, and Deebo Samuel and McCaffrey all at the same time. So now the leverage is I want to be here because I'm talking to you guys. I'm bringing somebody else here who's with Washington. Y'all know we boys. Y'all know my age. We good. So do you let me walk out the door and go to a team in your same division, in the same conference, right? And where potentially don't San Francisco play Washington again this year? If I'm not mistaken.
I hope not.
No, I'm looking scared. I don't think so. But no, it's not this. But again, do you let me walk out the door when you could have just gave me my money and kept me in the door and potentially be in a Super Bowl again? That's leverage. It is a small type of leverage, a small type of influence, but it's yet influence is there. Because again, I think the biggest influential part came when Washington made an offer for him. So they know there's some other people who are interested and he may have a home if you don't pay him.
Speaking of that,
yes. Speaking of the offer, man, Adam Schefter reported that the Commanders made an offer to Aiyuk that the 49ers declined. Mm-hmm. Are you surprised that the Commanders really made an offer?
No.
You're not. I kind of am. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm surprised because we talked about before, Mo, last week, where you're already paying Terry the bag, a good amount of money. Like I just feel like you can allocate that money elsewhere. Because you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna have to invest in some. I mean, and Terry's for what he's getting paid. That's a good bargain for nowadays receivers, right? But then the problem with that is if you get an Aiyuk and you pay him a lot, but then Terry still ends up being the number one, then you're gonna have to up Terry again. So I just feel like you're in a good situation now. We have Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin here together, and I feel like it's cheaper for you now. I just feel like you can allocate that money elsewhere. And in other positions, I feel like there are more dangerous needs, like they can invest their money in rather than a wide receiver.
Yeah, but I think
you can do that in the draft. You can handle that in the draft.
I think this was more testing the water. I think this was more testing the water with Adam Peters and see what kind of relationship he still had with the 49ers, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of relationship do I still have over there? What kind of influence do I have as Adam Peters, who created this team, have over there? Can I still give you a deal? I'll be interested to see. I haven't found anywhere what the deal entailed. What the draft pick. I'd be interested to see if it might not even been a wide receiver, right? They might have gave him a defensive guy.
That's true. That's a good point.
So it might not have even been, it might have Jahan. It might have been a Jonathan Allen, right? It might have been some draft picks because Washington. It might have even been some draft picks with some cash because Washington still has some cap room, right?
You shouldn't be giving no draft picks, though. I'll say that. You shouldn't give
I know. We should. We shouldn't be giving draft picks, but we don't know. But I think this is more with Adam Peters' ego and see if what kind of relationship he had more so than try to get rid of players and see if San Francisco will bite. Sometimes you do things just to see if the other team will bite.
Yeah. I mean, am I surprised? I'm not really surprised. I think there's a lot of connections here. You have Adam Peters coming from the 49ers brass, coming over, who had a large hand in drafting Aiyuk. Five drafts ago. You have the Commanders sitting in a position where they did not burn up all of their cap space. They had a lot of money still remaining on the books. I believe it's still north of $40 million, correct?
Yeah.
So it's still north of $40 million on the cap for the Commanders. They have tradable pieces,
True,
right? In terms of people on the squad, in terms of draft compensation. So I'm not surprised that they made an offer. I need the details of the offer in order to make sense of that offer and why San Fran would decline. But like they had everything in place. They have all the intel to make this trade happen, right? So it comes down to, like I've always argued, I'm not a fan of organizations trading draft capital, multiple draft picks, and then having to turn around and pay a high salary immediately to a player. I don't think that is good business, especially if it's not a player that is out of worldly.
True.
Right? So, and I think Aiyuk is a really good player. We haven't seen him in the number one role. We haven't seen him dictate coverage. We haven't seen him outside of Shanahan's scheme and playing alongside a Pro Bowler at every position, which we know is not the case here in Washington. So I'm not surprised that they made an offer, but I do think we need the parameters of the offer so that we can figure out whether it was a legitimate offer or not. Because for the 49ers to decline that with everything that they have done in terms of drafting that Ricky Pearsall, not, as we can say, not having the money to pay him what he wants, right? Or choosing not to pay him what he wants, like it would make sense to get something for him than not to get anything for him and he could walk away next year, or you have to play the franchise tag game next year, which is really going to make the situation a lot worse, right? Unless they know something that we don't know in terms of their cap situation or potentially somebody that they'll cut next year if they're just hoping that he'll play for them this year and then revisit the table next year. So there's a lot of things in place, but surprise, no. I think the 49ers and the Commanders are the two teams that could have seriously done some business about Aiyuk because you have a lot of tradable pieces on the Commanders that you could take. You have expiring contracts. You have young players that you could have possibly wanted in that same position. You know, whether this was prior to the draft and before they got Ricky Pearsall and all this kind of things. But I think a lot of things added up to make this trade happen. And it not happening is more alarming to me than it not happening.
So also, but also I want to throw in that you first off, he was second team. You was second team. So yeah, so to make sure we put that out there. Yeah, I don't. It's crazy. Let's play a game though. Let's play a game. For you, what did you think Washington offered for them to decline it? If they declined it, what do you think they offered?
They offered a player.
Okay, so there's a player. Which player do you think it is?
Ooh, I can't.
Because to me, I'm not gonna lie to you. For common sense purposes, I would think they offered Jahan.
Yeah, I would think Jahan.
I would think they offered Jahan. Right.
I would think Jahan was in that package because you got a rookie wide, you got a young wide receiver.
Yeah.
Still got 2 years. On his contract.
You got control.
You got control.
Yeah.
I also see something like 2 mid-rounders.
And he's a route runner.
Yeah, I see 2 mid-rounders, something like a 3rd and a 5th.
Okay.
A player, possible 4th next year. Some kind of package like that.
Yeah.
Because they would be giving up an expiring contract, but getting a contract that's team friendly for 2 years, plus the option a year, right? So,
and you also get a short receiver to your young quarterback to be able to do a short hand receiver.
The Commanders getting a short receiver, right? Okay. The Commanders getting a short receiver, but having to front the bill.
Okay.
So if I'm the Commanders, that's already going to make me give you less draft compensation.
Yeah, exactly. And I would want
right?
something back. I would want a better draft pick back, right?
And I may have to get him in a future pick,
A
probably next
future
year.
pick, right?
Next year,
Future second or third or fourth.
But next year, second to fourth.
Second to fourth, right?
It got to be for Brandon Aiyuk. It got to be a next year's second pick. In order for San Francisco to take that deal, I don't think they're taking anything less than a second round pick.
But we're
No.
talking about
We're talking Washington. No, because he's on. The only though. So Glen Mo is saying he's correct. So it's it's expiring contract, so it makes it more difficult. So Washington can't really. Truth be told, it'd be bad business if they gave up without making the contract, without the contract already being signed, right? Giving up a second round pick to a dude who's in an expiring contract. That's
exactly, because a second round pick guarantees you 4 years with a player.
Exactly, that's bad business. So they can't offer
versus a player that might be one and done.
Exactly.
Or have to get franchised or have to get a payback.
Now, if he was under control, it'd make more sense. If he was under control, it would make more sense.
Right.
Yeah.
If this was last offseason,
yeah, it makes
perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
Okay. I mean, so that's what I always weigh when I see these trades, the value versus what the player, and then so the trade must have clearly been something that the 49ers didn't want, right? Because it makes too much sense for the 49ers to be in trade business with the Commanders because they are the same brass. Yes. They know what each other expects. They they know the player. Both sides know the player.
Yep.
So it had to be something that was really a low ball offer or something that that intimates that we want them, but we're not about to. We don't
want that bad. We don't want them that bad.
Form.
Yeah, we don't want that. So Glenn, I'm gonna ask you the same question I asked Mo. Who do you think Washington offered for them to decline it? Who or what did they offer for San Francisco to decline it?
I think they offered a defensive player. I didn't think they offered wide receivers. I think they offered a defensive player, maybe a Jonathan Allen, because Jonathan Allen is still a Commander. But again,
he's on the books too, right?
He's on the books too. Yeah, you paying him a lot of money, right? But you also have the young kid that you just drafted, who's a backup player that you can put in for Jonathan Allen, and you don't really miss a beat, right? I think the defensive player, maybe like Mo said, second to a fourth round pick. I could see them offering a wide receiver, but my thing is, why would you? You could break up that Jahan, again, is on a small contract for the reason that you wouldn't get rid of. Jahan is still on that minimum. Jahan is on a small contract. So why would I give up a guy on a small contract to get a guy who I'm going to have to pay a little bit more money later on, unless I'm trying to make that power move, power play, right? That I really think this team is going to be that good and make that playoff run this season with a Brandon Aiyuk. But I think they could still be the same. You can use Jahan like a Brandon. He's not Brandon yet, but I think Jahan can get there with a different quarterback. With the quarterback that Washington has. So I think Washington went defensively with them. More so, I don't want to say the trade offer was legit. Like I said before, the last part I was saying, I think it was more to test the water. How bad does San Francisco want Brandon? And here it is. I just thought about this. Maybe Adam Peters was doing Brandon a favor because he drafted him and liked him through a trade out there to increase Brandon's value with the 49ers.
That's a good point. I can see that.
That he was doing him a favor. You know what? We're going to make a trade. I know they're going to reject it, but it's going to jack your money up because they know somebody else wants you.
I can see that. See, I don't think they offered a defensive player. Now I think about because I think their line is pretty much what it is. Their defense, the interior is what it is. They already have enough bodies in their defensive interior. Mm-hmm. And their starters, I think you have to commit with the contract. I don't think that Washington would offer them Jonathan Allen. I don't think they would do that. Because the Niners D line is pretty still stacked. Like the interior is still stacked, right, Mo?
No,
it's still stacked, right? Yeah. So I don't think they would offer that because Washington would that'd be a waste of it just to throw that out there. It'd be a waste. And I think they're smart enough to know that the Niners wouldn't need a Jonathan Allen. There's no need for Jonathan Allen.
And if you trade for Jonathan Allen, then the Niners have to re-up Jonathan Allen.
There you go. That's what I'm saying. Right? Then they have to re-up.
And the Niners have to re-up an aging, hurt player, and then turn around and pay him a back because now the D tackle market is far superseding that $16 million that Jonathan Allen signed.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just don't think they would. I don't think Washington would throw that out. I don't think they would throw that out there. That definitely and I like Jonathan Allen. That's definitely an offer to be rejected. I agree, but I don't think they threw that. I don't think they threw Jonathan Allen out there because they really wanted to. If they really wanted to entice the Niners to get Aiyuk, I do think it was a receiver. I don't know which receiver. I mean, I could say that since Mo said since Mo said so we said Jahan, since we said Jahan Dotson, it could be a De'Ami Brown because there's word he can get cut and a higher draft and some draft picks, so draft capital.
Do you think they could have put the McCaffrey
maybe
brother?
third rounder.
Do you think they could have put the McCaffrey brother in the pick?
Absolutely not.
I thought about that, but they're definitely not doing that though. I thought about that, but they're definitely not putting McCaffrey.
Listen, man, like
you think they would? Nah, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that.
The only one that makes sense.
Jahan's the only one that makes sense though, for real.
You trade. You're gonna trade for De'Ami to come do what? De'Ami
exactly.
Do it here.
No, I agree. No, I agree.
You know what I mean?
But you never know. One thing. But what I will say this though, the only thing I would say, I think it's Jahan, so don't get it twisted. Like I really do think it's Jahan. But I do think Kyle is arrogant. There's one thing about Kyle. Kyle is super arrogant. And there's players that Kyle just thinks he can make. We had it here in DC. They were like he thought he could make Colt McCoy into something special. Like he really did. Like he really thought he could make Colt McCoy something special.
Colt McCoy could have been something special, but an injury.
No, but I'm gonna say, but the Kyle. That's how Kyle thought that he could make John Beck good. Like he is
what he had.
No, he was a big fan. He used to talk about Kyle be believing. He be believing. He trusts himself. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you're right. I think Jahan definitely would probably be the play. But there's one thing I don't doubt about Kyle when it comes to like offensive players, like quarterbacks, receivers. Kyle does believe in his system, and he feels like he can scheme you open. So if you're fast like a De'Ami, whoever, like you talking about the kid in Florida, like there is arrogance with the kid in Florida. Don't get it twisted. Like Kyle thinks he can make that dude look really good.
But that kid from Florida can play.
No, I ain't say he couldn't, but there's a reason. He thinks that's why I think on the back of his mind, he's like, bruh, like I want to pay you, but I don't gotta pay that much. This kid from Florida,
pay you. This kid,
I don't really gotta pay you. You get what I'm saying?
Backside.
Like, yeah, there is arrogance there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
is that arrogance or is that just smart? That's
there's no loyalty. Put it that way.
No, it's no loyalty.
It's business sense though, right? If I can get a cheaper part who's just as good, if I get a cheaper part who's just as good, you go roll with it, right?
So like, if you look at the skill sets are similar. The skill sets are similar. Now, is this kid gonna be Aiyuk? We don't know. Like to Glenn's point, all the rookies they have to prove. But like, if I'm looking at it from an offensive coordinator standpoint, where I'm the one calling the plays and I'm the head coach, I can get a little bit more selective, right? That's why the Ricky Pearsall move, it wowed a couple of people because Keon Coleman was there, other guys were there, Adonai Mitchell, and the bigger name wide receivers are there. He went for a particular skill set, a particular person that he wanted in his offense.
That's what he did. So he knows.
And when you're the team that is consistently losing in the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship, you have that luxury to make picks like that.
Yeah, and you want to get a viable option. You want a replacement because contracts are coming up. So if you set out, I got somebody to take your spot. It's like college, right? If I get this guy coming and he's a superstar, let's say Brandon sets out, this guy becomes a superstar, they'll let Brandon go or they'll trade him by week 3 or week 4.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true.
Because we done found your replacement, bro. And that's the gamble that Brandon has to take by setting out, knowing that this guy is behind him trying to take his spot.
No, definitely. It's definitely true. So, Glenn, how might Daniels' involvement with Aiyuk affect the future career prospect?
It only affects the future career prospect of Jayden Daniels.
Okay.
Not Brandon Aiyuk. And I say Jayden Daniels because if Aiyuk somehow can make his way to Washington, is a win. If somehow Aiyuk don't make his way to Washington, and as we mentioned earlier, Jayden Daniels has a bad season or a bad training camp or is bad, it's like, okay, dog, it goes back to what we said. If you should have been studying your playbook instead of hanging out, right? You should have, instead of building cohesiveness with your boy Brandon Aiyuk, you should have been building cohesiveness with Jahan Dotson and Terry McLaurin. Y'all should have been throwing balls together, getting that chemistry together. So again, that future prospect of it was if that happens, but I think it goes the correct way. I think Brandon stays with 49ers. I think Jayden stays with the Commanders. He's gonna stay with the Commanders. I think Jayden had a good rookie season. I think training camp to be okay. Everything we're hearing right now from OTAs is that he's on pace to be a good quarterback this season. Yeah. I haven't heard too many negative things from Jayden in training camp and OTAs. So
no one's it's OTAs. No one.
It's OTAs. But what I'm saying is people still reporting we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, everybody, because everybody's in the kumbaya. Like, this one thing I've learned, like, everybody's in the kumbaya phase. So what I like about the people reporting, which is different, like, they're not being overly negative when it comes to the young dude. I hate like they're overly negative to the young dude, because just give the young dude an opportunity to do what they need to do, and we'll all see it regardless. I think at times people are like ready to bash somebody, especially in this area. I feel like they're ready to bash a quarterback before they even do whatever. Like, they're always micromanaging, or like looking at everything, like, just like, dude, it's OTAs, chill out. Like, stop trying to paint a picture. Like, now I'm happy. Like, I do like that they're giving this kid, because again, he's a kid trying to fulfill a dream. They're giving this kid the opportunity to kind of enjoy being an NFL quarterback. So, like, we'll learn about him in training camp, where we're not even training camp. I feel like scrimmages, because you get to see other people, scrimmages, preseason. We'll learn about how he competes against the opposition, because we saw it. You know, we heard a lot of good things last year in camp about certain players, about Sam Howell, and how he, what he was doing, and how, like, the Patriots, when he was scrimmaging against the Patriots or whatever, and that didn't pan out the way we thought it was going to pan out. So
yeah, but
to me,
that's a whole different dynamic.
yeah, I know it's true. That's true. No, I'm just saying though, but like, just in terms of just perception, you know what I'm saying? Like, we can, camp is camp. Like, I want to see him compete. You know what I'm saying? Compete against another team. So, but yeah, like, I do like that though. I like how they're covering him in OTAs. It's cool. Like, I like everybody. Okay, let's let our quarterback grow. What about you, Mo?
I don't really. I think it's much to do about nothing.
Exactly.
About career prospects, man. This kid has talent. If he goes on to be successful, it's going to be on Kingsbury in that offensive line. Not what he did for a weekend with his homeboy. I really don't see too much of a story here in terms of that. It's a peculiar situation, but I don't see too much of a story.
But you do know, like, if he does struggle in camp, you know how people are.
I know how it is.
Yeah,
but
you've been in this area long enough now.
That's but like we say all the time, fans are fickle, man. Fans are fickle.
True.
And it is what it is, man. Fact. But I think his career prospect, this kid is going to go on with or without Aiyuk, and he's going to have to show and prove on the field. And nothing he did on a June day in 2024 is going to impact what his ceiling is supposed to be, right? Yeah. I mean, so the only thing that, in the last question that we have, the only thing that I'm concerned about, and the last question that we have for the night is, if Aiyuk does not come to Washington, right? I think we've touched on this a little bit earlier, but like, I want to clear, like, is he possibly alienating himself to some of his other wide receivers on his squad?
I mentioned before, I do think there's an opportunity to, like, that can definitely happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can happen. You know, it's just that. But I think the most important, I think it doesn't matter unless he, like, wins.
Yeah, I'm about to say, if he wins,
you know and he wins, well, it doesn't matter. If he plays well, it doesn't matter anymore. Like, but if he struggles, like, everything, you get the little negative chirps, right? You get the leaks, you get all of that, right? But I don't think it's a problem. I don't really expect him to truly struggle. Like, I expect him to, have a good rookie season. Ups and downs, but a good, solid rookie season. So I don't expect, like, him to alienate his teammates or whatnot because of what the Brandon Aiyuk thing. I don't expect it. But like we said earlier, losing, poor play changes everything.
It does.
You know what I mean? So that's the only thing I would say. He struggles, and it is what it is. But go ahead.
I think he has. No, you good. I think he has a rookie. He has enough communication skills from what I've seen. Everybody personal skills that he's talked to those guys. He's built that relationship. So I think it would be as Wole's point. It's only if they're losing in the receive. If they're losing in the receivers are the reason why, not the defense, right? If offensively they putting up enough points and defense can't stop anybody, it's not an issue. But if they're losing and he's having a bad season, then it is an issue. So if everybody's if Terry's numbers are down, Jahan numbers are down, and receivers numbers are down, then you can blame it on. People will try to tie it back to this. But like you said, Mo, it's June, whatever. It's today, June 26th, as we record this. It's not a big issue.
No, not at all, man. Well, this has been a good discussion, and it's been like as you all can tell, we're very fair. You know what I mean? We're very fair. No hating over here. But before we end this show, subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts. Just search All Burgundy and Go Everything. Also, tweet us at ABG_everything. Hit us up on IG at ABG_everything. And like our All Burgundy and Go Everything Facebook page. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our All Burgundy and Go Everything YouTube channel. Hit that red subscribe button. Also, like this video. We're close to 400. Get us to 400. You know what I mean? We making moves, making strides.
Tell a friend. Come
Tell
on
them,
now.
Tell them all.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
You know what I'm saying? We getting there.
Tag
man.
them on Twitter. Tag them on Twitter if you have to. Tag us and tag them.
Definitely.
Hit that red subscribe button on YouTube. Go ahead and hit us on, Apple Podcast, Spotify, everything. We here. Everything.
We're in the building. You know, so we also on TikTok too. I forgot I need to start plugging that. We're on TikTok too. I need to plug that too.
Come find
so
us
anyway,
on
appreciate y'all for I appreciate you all for tuning in. Anyway, you've been listening to All Burgundy and Gold, everything powered by the Urban Sports Scene and Fox Sports Radio, 96.9 FM and 1340 AM, Hopewell, Virginia, for ages. You dig?